Now, I don't want to confuse anybody, so let me just go ahead and recap all these numbers in our fake example here. XYZ, they used to be able to produce the widgets at $10 each. GovMart used to buy those widgets at wholesale from XYZ for $12 each. Then, GovMart would resell them to you and I for $15 per widget. Now, cap and trade is passed, and this is the new situation. XYZ now has to charge GovMart $14.50 per widget because they need to add that $2.50 increase to cover their skyrocketing energy costs and the new energy costs of their suppliers and delivery drivers. Remember, cap and trade, it's going to hit all businesses. In our pretend example, that also includes GovMart, who is also going to realize the probably too low 15% operating cost increase. And that alone is going to add on about $2.25 per widget. Let's not forget that GovMart also pays for delivery costs to the store. We'll be really nice and say that increase is only about 25 cents per widget. With all of these new costs, the same widget that you and I could buy for $15 before cap and trade will now cost us $20. So in our example, when cap and trade passed, it caused a 15% increase in the expenses. That 15% increase has caused a 25% increase in the cost of a widget. Now, while it's true that not everything is going to see a 25% increase in price, some things are going to increase more than that, and some things are going to increase in price less. But it's important to understand that cap and trade will cause not only energy prices to rise, anything that uses energy, whether when it's being made or delivered, those things, in fact, everything will increase in price noticeably. Because the extra money being charged, you know, the things that nobody's allowed to call taxes, but yet it's really just taxes, that extra charge that's being added to the business costs to make that product that you like to buy isn't realized by the business. It's realized by you, the consumer. Just like in our example, the prices will increase. Hopefully you're still with me. Next I'm going to show you how all of this is going to cause a decline in consumer demand, now that cap and trade has caused price increases. You're an employee and have a job, for now anyway, a good union job at XYZ Company's manufacturing plant. You bring home about $1,000 a week, and after all your bills and mortgage, you have about $100 in disposable income each week. Here's how cap and trade affects you. After it's passed, all of a sudden you're spending $205 a month on your electric bill instead of $175. Hopefully we'll all be lucky enough to only see a $30 increase. Probably not likely. You'll also spend $10 more a week on gas now, and widgets are going to cost you an extra $5 twice a month. No employee discount. So to sum it up, electric bill costs $7.50 more each week. Your gas is going to cost you $10 more each week, and widgets are costing you $2.50 more per week. You used to have $100 a week in disposable income. Now you only have 80. So if everyone is fortunate enough to only lose 20% of their disposable income, oh, and here's what this 20% loss means. It means less money to spend. It means people have to make choices that they didn't have to make before. Choices between, say, buying bread or purchasing widgets. The bottom line is everyone is going to have to forego something. They're going to choose one thing over another. And because of this, when this bill passes, consumer demand will decline. Whether the Congressional Budget Office or Henry Waxman or Congressman Mark Kirk want it to or not. Quick side note, job losses are going to exceed any created green jobs by such an incredible rate that the fact politicians are even talking about green jobs, it's laughable. One more important economic reality to cover. Let's next illustrate how unemployment's going to rise. So far in our pretend model, we have prices rising, electricity bills, as Obama said they would, skyrocketing. All of this results in consumers having less money to spend. And since people are spending less money, by definition, consumer demand is plummeting. XYZ Company is starting to realize that it doesn't need to produce as many widgets. GovMart is starting to complain about all the excess widgets still in stock. Just the other day, GovMart refused to accept the regular weekly widget shipment because they still hadn't sold even half of last week's delivery. So next, there's a corporate announcement at XYZ Company. Apparently, with plummeting demand and the cost of carbon credits, the widget plant in Hometown, USA is closing down, and the manufacturing process will be moved to China, where they can afford to operate with cheaper labor and where there's no mandatory cap and trade environmental donations. With the closing of this plant, 3,500 people will be unemployed within 6 months, including you. Meanwhile, across the way over at GovMart, another announcement is taking place. With the recent decline in consumer demand, they're getting sick of paying for empty warehouse space. GovMart warehouses in Nextown, USA, and all across the country are going to close within 90 days. 1,100 people nationwide will be unemployed, and 100 people here in the local area. In other news, cap and trade is killing what's left of the car business. The next corporate announcement in our pretend model comes from Government Motors. They've announced too, like XYZ Company, they're going to be exporting their manufacturing operations to lands of cheaper labor and no carbon caps or credits. Government Motors is moving their manufacturing operations to Brazil and closing up in Motor City, USA. This adds another 30,000 people to be unemployed. With the recent announcement of Government Motors moving manufacturing operations to Brazil, thousands of small businesses whose entire lifeblood relied on Government Motors manufacturing processes are closing down. Millions more will be unemployed within the year. So, now with millions losing their jobs, millions of people who are used to having money to spend will no longer have money. Consumer demand will continue to plummet. This is one huge cycle. More people lose their job, and again, disposable income continues to drop. While disposable income is dropping, consumer demand continues to plummet. Consumer demand plummets, and here we are again. People lose jobs, or companies export them to Asia or South America. Those are the economic realities of the Cap and Trade Bill. This bill will murder American jobs. It is estimated that on average, 1,145,000 jobs will be destroyed each year as a result of this bill. In worst years, Cap and Trade will murder and export almost 2.5 million American jobs. But just ask Congressman Markey, and he'll tell you it won't cost but about a postage stamp a day. Right. So what about the environmental realities? Allegedly, the bill will save the earth. At least that's what the supporters of the bill tell us. But will this bill save the environment? No. Let's talk climate change. I'm of the opinion that man-made global warming is a fraud. However, that's another presentation coming soon. For this last section of the presentation, we'll just assume that, good God, man is destroying the planet and we must save her. Quick note, at the end of the presentation you'll be able to find all the sources, and in those you can find the calculations and formulas also if you're interested in doing the math for yourself. Now, let's set the standard. Assuming it's even possible to change the temperature of the Earth by adding or subtracting a certain amount of carbon dioxide to or from the Earth's atmosphere, in order to reduce the Earth's mean surface temperature by 1 Kelvin, that's a change of about 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, we as a nation would have to refrain from emitting carbon dioxide in amounts ranging somewhere between 2 trillion to 20 trillion tons. That estimate comes from the Science and Public Policy Institute.